beach saying, go back in the water, everything's fine. You know, Amityville means peace and tranquility.
Yeah, and it was kind of a mixed message today. The governor said that, as you just heard, go out and enjoy the weekend. But at the same time, in the next breath, he said, make sure you keep your ears open in case we set up the sirens that go off all over the island in case of a tsunami, or in this case, in case of an attack, missile attack on the island. So yes, people are being told mixed messages, but you have to remember what the governor is trying to get at is that what's threatened here, the very specific threat from the North Koreans, was that they would send 4 missiles to 20 miles off of the island of Guam. So not right at the island of Guam, and these missiles are not equipped with nuclear weapons. So there's not a real threat if something could go wrong. There's not a real threat to hurting anybody on this island. It's more of a threat, more of a thumbing of the nose, more of a we can do it, and we're just very close to getting nuclear weapons on these missiles, and that, of course, would mean big trouble.
Nobody means to make light of what those folks in Guam must be feeling. They are stuck in between a war of words between two countries. Tell us about, for many people that probably haven't thought about Guam their entire life. What is Guam and what's going on that island?
Well, Guam has been part of the United States since the Spanish-American War. It is people who were born here are American citizens. People who were involved in World War II are familiar with Guam because the Japanese bombed Guam and then took over the island right after Pearl Harbor. And 2.5 years later, the United States lost a lot of lives reclaiming it. So it has a vivid American history. There are 2 huge American bases here, one of them an Air Force base and one of them a Navy base. The Air Force base is home to B-1 bombers, which would, in fact, if the United States decided it had to strike North Korea with nuclear weapons, that's where they would come from. The Navy base here has submarines, nuclear submarines with Tomahawk missiles on them. So it's a very important place for the United States as far as its defense of the Pacific.
So what is it? Can you kind of set the scene? What is it like today? Is it kind of business as usual then?
This is a huge tourist spot for Japanese and Korean tourists. Mostly American tourists who come to the Pacific go to Hawaii, but this is a cheaper location. And in fact, I came in on a 777 today, filled with Korean. I came from Seoul, filled with South Korean visitors, tourists, big families. So the hotels are full. The tourist spots are still full. People are out shopping for back-to-school supplies who live here. About 160,000 American citizens live here. So it's pretty... people are going about their business, but there is a cloud hanging over because they know that even though they don't expect North Korea to hit their island with these ballistic missile tests, they are in the way. They are the closest and most vulnerable American land for the North Koreans to hit.
Do the residents themselves have you had time to get a sense whether they actually believe or that they might become a target in the future? Is it a sense that this is going to be resolved? Do they have a real fear?
Well, I think that the fear is down the road. There's not. I'm not seeing any visual examples of tension or fear with them now. Remember that in 2004, the North Koreans threatened way back then. So they've been through this before. They do believe that the North Koreans, especially Kim Jong-un, is a type of guy who is bellicose and makes these big threats. What is new this time around, and I saw this in South Korea, I was there yesterday and the day before, what you see is a surprised reaction and a bit of heightened tension because This time, the United States is responding in kind. This time, Donald Trump, the president, is using the same kind of language or similar language than the North Koreans do. So it makes people a little bit more nervous this time around.
Jim Avila, ABC News correspondent from Guam. Keep us up to date and be safe.
Thank you very much for having me.